Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. My name is Matt Wittern, and I work for Raftellus, the consulting firm the city hired to perform the water and sewer rate study. I'm joined by my colleague, Jeremy Tamargo, who was our technical lead. Tonight, we'll walk through Laverne's proposed water and sewer rates, why these changes are necessary, and how they're determined. This discussion is part of the city's ongoing commitment to transparency and community involvement. We'll collect questions in the chat and address them in order of receipt after the presentation. We'll also open the microphone at the end for those who would prefer to ask their question verbally. But before I get too far in, I wanted to give the city staff who are participating tonight a chance to introduce themselves. Perhaps we'll start with you, Mr. Wu.
Hello, everyone. Daniel Wu, the city's Public Works Director.
Good afternoon, everybody. Joe Vieira, Deputy Public Works Director.
Christy Sanchez, Senior Management Analyst.
Great. Thanks, you all. So with introductions out of the way, let me share what we'll cover. We'll start with an overview of our utilities, then review how utility funding works. Next, we'll review critical planned capital investments, and then explain how rates are determined under Proposition 218. We'll then look at the proposed rates and their impact on customer bills. Finally, we'll share specific actions you can take if you object to the proposed changes, and we'll close with public resources and next steps, and end with time for your questions. So please post your questions in the chat, and we'll go through them in the order received. Laverne's Water Division manages the production and distribution of water to your homes and businesses, along with maintaining and reading meters. About 76% of the city's water supply is imported from the Colorado River and State Water Project through Three Valleys Municipal Water District, and it's treated at the Miramar plant. The remaining 24% comes from local groundwater pumped from the Pomona and Live Oak basins, using 8 operational wells, 4 blending facilities, and a treatment plant. The Sewer Division maintains and cleans 112 miles of sewer mains and operates 2 sewer lift stations. All of your wastewater flows to the Los Angeles County Sanitation District for treatment and discharge. These systems are critical to protecting public health and the environment. Now let's talk a little bit about key concepts in utility funding. It's important to note that your utilities are not funded by the city's general fund or taxes. They operate as enterprise funds, which means the money collected from water and sewer rates can only be used to run and improve the water and sewer systems. They cannot be used for other city services like parks or public safety. Now, operating and maintaining the water and sewer systems is critical to ensuring reliable service. Rate revenues contribute to keeping the systems running 24/7. Here's what it'll cost in 2026 to run the water system. Nearly $1 million for administration, which includes employing the professionals who operate the water system. About $9.8 million to ensure water is available for our community, which includes purchasing water. About $1 million to deliver water to customers. Another $1 million to ensure you have reliable customer service you need. And when it's all said and done, the cost to operate and maintain the system is about $13.9 million. Our study found this will increase to more than $15 million in 2027. Here's what it'll cost in 2026 to run the sewer system. Nearly $700,000 for administration, which includes employing the professionals who operate the system, more than $900,000 to maintain the system so sewage stays in pipes where it belongs. And when it's all said and done, the cost to operate and maintain the system is about $1.8 million. This will increase to more than $1.9 million in 2027. This graphic shows how every dollar collected from water rates is spent to provide service. More than half, 51%, goes directly to water production, including purchasing and pumping supplies. Another 26% funds the city's capital improvement program to replace and upgrade aging infrastructure. The remaining costs are spread across system needs, 7% for transfers, 5% each for customer service, transmission and distribution, and water administration, and 1% for debt service. You can see here how the majority of the budget is spent buying water. This graphic helps put the cost of tap water into perspective by comparing it to everyday items most of us buy. A gallon of orange juice costs about $12.80. A gallon of gasoline is about $3.89. Both bottled water and milk are about $3.84 per gallon. And by contrast, a gallon of tap water delivered to your home costs less than 1 cent. Even with planned rate adjustments, tap water remains by far the most affordable essential we buy. Unlike bottled water or juice, tap water is delivered 24/7 through an entire system of pipes, pumps, wells, and treatment facilities. It's also important to note that while we're all experienced the negative impacts of inflation on our family budgets. The rate of inflation for water and wastewater utilities has been far worse over the years. This graph compares the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, with just food-related CPI. Both appear down here at the bottom. At the top, shown by the black line, is how inflation has impacted water and wastewater providers. And this isn't just true in Laverne or California. We at Raftellus see this across the country. When we talk about inflation and rising costs, it's important to remember that utility systems aren't immune. They must keep pace with higher costs for labor, equipment, and supplies, while also funding critical capital projects and setting aside reserves for emergencies. In Laverne, water and sewer rates haven't been adjusted since 2018. In that time, the water utility has been operating in the red, drawing down reserves just to cover basic operating costs. That's not a sustainable path. From 2018 until now, the Consumer Price Index has increased by about 28%. On top of that, utilities typically rise even faster, about 2% more than CPI each year, which adds another 15%. And most significantly, the cost of treated water the city purchases from the Metropolitan Water District has gone up by more than 50% in the same period. These factors together explain why steady, responsible adjustments are needed now. They will ensure that the city can cover rising costs, invest in infrastructure, and continue delivering safe, reliable service to every household. I'll turn the microphone over now to Joe Vieira to talk about the city's planned capital investment projects.
Thank you, Matt. The city of Laverne went through a sewer master plan and a water master plan, and with input from those two reports, along with our internal staff, we identified several key infrastructure projects that needed to be done. You can see here some major ones on the water side, and then some major ones on the sewer side. And if you go to the next slide, we'll kind of go through those in detail. For the water side, pipeline rehabilitation, that's obviously several key areas or infrastructure pipes that are old that need to be either replaced or relined. Our new AMI conversion, which is a new technology for water meters that can track water usage and water leaks from a +1, I think a 1% difference that you can tell. And then also 6 in white treatment plant, obviously new technologies that allow us to treat more volume of waters. And we have well repairs, and then SCADA upgrade, which is our communication infrastructure that communicates among all our facilities to make sure that we have all systems running at the same time. If you can go to the next slide. The sewer capital CIP project, sewer relining, obviously is the middle picture you see there is a new technology where they can reline epoxy through the old lines, and it'll at a cost that's a fraction of what it would be to actually replace the piping itself. The manhole cleanout rehabilitation, we have several manholes that need to be rehabilitated. I think some of them are over 100 years old. So we've identified key areas that need to be rehabilitated, and portable backup generators for live oak to make sure that whenever there is any key electrical shutdowns, we're able to continue water pumping in those key areas as well. Next slide.
That's it, Joe.
Oh, that's it. Got it.
That's it for you. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, capital investment in this day and age is so very important. We see our clients really needing to invest in the really valuable infrastructure that's in the ground to maintain levels of service that customers have become accustomed to. So we wanted to share with you the public process over the past year. It began with several ad hoc committee meetings and facility tours, continued with a council workshop in April, and the council's action in August to authorize Prop 218 notices. Notices were mailed in September, and we're now holding 4 community information sessions. This is the second of 4. The public hearing will take place on November 3rd at 6:30 p.m. at City Hall, and if approved, the new rates will take effect on January 1st. So webinars like these are not the only way the city has been communicating with stakeholders on these important projects. The city has been proactively communicating about this rate study and the process for some time now, and the conversation in the community has been robust. So let's talk about the proposed rates. We'll go into detail over the next several slides. We'll show water rates, sewer rates, and how these changes, if approved, will be phased in beginning January 1st, 2026, and then adjusted each July 1st through 2029. This slide shows the proposed fixed charges based on meter size, along with added unit charges for accessory dwelling units. These charges help ensure the city recovers a portion of its fixed costs, such as maintaining wells, reservoirs, and the distribution system. Larger meters have higher charges because they provide greater capacity to draw from the system. This slide shows a map of Laverne's water pressure zones. These zones reflect the different elevations in the city. Because water must be pumped to higher elevations in some areas, the cost of providing service can vary. On the next slide, we'll look at the proposed volumetric rates by zone, which are designed to fairly distribute those pumping costs among customers. So this slide provides the detailed breakdown of the proposed volumetric rates by zone, showing the current 2025 charges compared with the proposed 2026 charges and how they will phase in over time. This structure makes sure that the city can pay for rising imported water costs while maintaining reliable local service. This slide shows the proposed charges for private fire protection connections, which are typically associated with commercial or industrial properties. These connections require system capacity to be available even if they are rarely used. The new charges will help cover the cost of maintaining infrastructure that ensures adequate fire protection throughout the city. Finally, this slide outlines the proposed sewer rates. For single-family residential customers, the charge is a fixed bi-monthly amount, which will increase gradually starting in 2026. For non-residential customers, the charges include a volumetric component based on water use. These revenues fund the maintenance of 112 miles of sewer mains and lift stations, as well as the fees paid to the Los Angeles County Sanitation District for wastewater treatment and discharge. So let's look around your neighboring communities and see how things compare. Shown here is the current rate. The city is at the bottom of the list of all these communities nearby. Even with the first proposed rate increases on January 1st, 2026, the city remains at the bottom of the list for the fixed bi-monthly meter charge. Keep in mind, Monte Vista Water District, Cucamonga Valley Water District, Roland Water, and the City of Upland all have increases effective January 1, 2026, and are not noted in this graph. This slide shows that even with the second scheduled rate increase of 25% on July 1st, 2026, that's for the second year of the rate adjustment phase in, the city's fixed bi-monthly meter charge still remains near the bottom. So here's what you've all been waiting for. Let's look at some sample bill impacts for single-family residential. So let's start with what this chart is showing. On the left, you see the dollar scale, and along the bottom, 3 usage levels we're focusing on. Low use at 7,000 gallons, the annual average at 14,000 gallons, and medium high use at 20,000 gallons. Now, in dark blue, you see the current 2025 bills for each usage level. A low-use household today pays about $78, the average household about $106, and a medium high user about $129. With the proposed 2026 rates shown in light blue, those bills would rise to about $113, $152, and $186 respectively. For sewer service, the story is simpler. Every single family residence pays the same fixed rate every 2 months for sewer service, no matter how much water they use. The dark blue bar shows the current flat sewer charge for 2025, $23.43 every 2 months. The light blue bar shows the proposed 2026 charge, $26.61. Finally, here's the combined picture, water and sewer together on one bill. As before, you see the scale and the usage categories first. The dark blue bars show current 2025 combined bills, about $112 for low use, $152 for average use, and $186 for medium high use. The light blue bars show the proposed 2026 combined bills, rising to about $139, $186, and $213 at those same usage levels. If approved by City Council, similar annual bill adjustments can be expected each year through 2029. So residents have 2 ways to formally oppose the proposed rate increases under Proposition 218. The first is by filing an objection, which argues that the rates are not legally compliant. The second is by submitting a protest, which is a written statement of opposition to the rates themselves. Both must be submitted in writing and follow specific rules to be counted. An objection must clearly explain why the proposed rates don't comply with the Proposition 218. It must be received by the city clerk no later than 4 p.m. on October 27th, 2025, 1 week before the hearing. Objections may be mailed, delivered in person, or emailed. The city will respond in writing to all timely objections. Importantly, filing an objection preserves the right to challenge the rates later in court. A protest is a written statement opposing the proposed rates. It must include a clear statement of opposition, the property owner or account holder's name, the property address, and the person's signature and printed name. Each property may submit only one protest. Protests must be received by the city clerk before the close of the public hearing on November 3rd, 2025. Oral comments at the hearing do not count as protests. If more than half of property owners file valid protests, the city council cannot adopt the rates. If there is no majority protest, the council may adopt them, and the new rates would likely take effect January 1st, 2026, with annual adjustments through 2030. So 2 more items of note. The first is that drought surcharges do remain in effect. These only apply if the city council declares a water shortage emergency. The last item is the importance of water conservation. Water conservation empowers customers to actively manage and reduce their water bills through everyday actions. Simple steps such as promptly fixing leaks, installing water-efficient appliances, and optimizing outdoor irrigation with smart gardening techniques can lead to substantial savings in both usage and costs. The City of Laverne provides valuable resources to guide these efforts, including practical tips on reducing water waste, reporting issues via online portals, accessing rebate programs for efficient devices, and turf replacement through partnerships like SoCal WaterSmart, and exploring seasonal strategies in archived newsletters. Just search for water conservation on the city's website to find these tools, ordinances, and support materials. And we encourage you to learn more. On the city's website, you'll also find FAQs, videos, and the full rate study report. The bill calculator at laverneca.gov/calculator lets you enter your water use and see how the proposed rates would affect your household. You'll also find links to this presentation, future virtual and in-person sessions, and information about the public hearing. To summarize, rate studies help us keep up with the cost of providing service. They ensure the financial help and set a course to meet future obligations. In California, Proposition 218 ensures rates are fair, transparent, and only cover the cost of service. Most importantly, community members like you have a voice in this process. So now we'd like to hear from you. What questions do you have about the proposed rates, the process, or what this means to your household?
And then Matt, I see there is one question in the chat from Laura. It says, are these rising costs to purchase water related to droughts or increased demand on the Colorado River? So Laura, I'm going to drop in the chat a link to an article from MWD in terms of explaining those increasing costs on their end. And then also the snip from the article. Essentially, they are not immune to the same pressures that the city of Laverne and many other public agencies are facing. There are the extreme weather events, both drought and record-breaking precipitation, as drivers in terms of the resiliency effort for their capital investment spending. But they are also subject to those inflationary pressures such as commodity prices, labor, and energy costs all increasing. MWD has also experienced some unanticipated expenses, coupled with the fact that they have tried to limit their rate increases in recent years. So all of that has combined to result in the rate increases for the wholesaler MWD. The next question, it looks from Danita. It says, if a proper protest is presented, the city council cannot implement the increase, then what happens? Does it default to the least amount of increase? So that question, as Matt talked about, the threshold to prevent or a successful protest is the 50% plus one in terms of the number of protests. And so if that happens, the council could not implement the proposed rate increases. So The existing rate schedule would remain in effect. So the rates would be unchanged from what the city is currently charging on the current schedule. The total number of water services in the city, that is in our rate report. I could go grab it unless Christy or Joe has that top of mind, but I can get that information for you. Cynthia, just give me a minute or two to verify that.
And while Jeremy's looking up the figures there, I'll note we have 3 attendees who have raised their hands. At some point, I imagine we'll want to, well, now it's just 2. Mr. Bowen and Mr. Mulvihill have questions, so we'll probably plan to take those in that order. And Christy, I'll remind you, I can't actually unmute them, so.
Sounds good, thank you.
So in terms of number of meters, there are approximately 8,345 meters within the city of Laverne.
Thank you, Jeremy. Looks like we got a question from Cynthia. Are we keeping track of how many people are attending these meetings? Yes, these meetings are being recorded and staff are taking note of participation. Yep, Christy, you're muted.
I will go ahead and unmute Mr. Bowen first.
Mr. Bowen, if you want to unmute, I think you're cleared to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hey, I was on the committee, so I want to say that up front. I've got a couple of questions. When you just talked about the meter quantities, I was told a much bigger number. I was told about 9,600. So does the 38 or 8345 include the city meters? Hello?
Yes, it does.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. So so protests would have to be half of that, plus 1. So roughly 4,200, 4,180.
Yes, that is correct. The 50 plus 1 number. Mhm.
Okay. The CPI projections, I had asked for previous CPI work being done over the last 5 years. And it got actually, there wasn't really an answer to that. In fact, I was told that the city didn't have that information. And Christy, you can hopefully verify that. One of my concern is that there is nothing in here to change the past behavior of CPI projects being put into the annual budget, but not done. And that is what it appears to have been the habit over the last 4 to 5 years, is that CPI projects were put in the annual budget, but they were never done because, in fact, many times there was cost overruns within the overhead of the department. And in fact, the department, and Christy, you can help me out here, was borrowing in some cases about $1.8 million to cover overhead. And so there's nothing, or is there something in here that I didn't see that guarantees this money is spent on those CPI projects? Yes or no?
So I just want to clarify, Mr. Bowen, you're referring to the CIP, the capital
For the
improvement?
CIP, the capital improvement. Yes, capital of the projects.
Gotcha. So I will direct that to the city in terms of the mechanism for tracking and in terms of the implementation on the capital improvement project side of things.
I can shed a little bit of light on that. Obviously, all of us here, Christy, Danny, myself, are all relatively new to the city, and obviously we're trying to kind of make sense of what was previously done before. But with this current study, obviously we looked and our shortfalls was all our O&M, and previously there was a shortfall and we were using that CIP money to cover that O&M. But now with this new rate structure, it's going to give us that ability to balance both the CIP and the O&M, and obviously make sure that we do upgrade all that infrastructure. Between myself, Danny, and Christy, we're developing a bigger and better CIP spreadsheet, things that we can post and actually have on the website. So we will be able to track a lot of these projects moving forward in the future.
Okay, thank you, Joe, and I appreciate your efforts, but that doesn't answer my question. Is there a guarantee in here that the millions of dollars that will be raised in new costs to the citizens, is there a guarantee that that money will be spent on capital improvement projects versus cost overruns for overhead? It's either a yes or a no.
And I would say, as the deputy, yes, there is a guarantee because we have to balance those expenses for CIP and O&M. And obviously, we have to maintain a great O&M and keep those costs down. And again, invest in what we haven't done in a very long time.
Okay, so what I just heard you say is if a CIP project for $5 million next year, it would be guaranteed that that money would be spent on capital improvement.
That's correct. That's pending. We don't have any scheduling or anything in that project where there's delays. That's correct.
Okay, I'd love to see that in writing. And I guess my last question is this. I voted for the lower rates. I got a document the other day that shows in just next year, beginning January, the increased revenue, which is expenditures by citizens, would be $2,495,000, or excuse me, $2,495,751. And that's only for 6 months. So 6 months later, the citizens get hit with another rate, which would equate to 50 plus 25, which would be 87.5% total, and would generate another $8,742,530,000. And then 1 year later, so you're talking about an 18-month time frame, it would generate another $11,562,443, effectively more than doubling water rates in a 18-month period. I just find that to be a crime. Making up for past problems is one thing, but putting a burden of doubling their water costs over an 18-month period is inexcusable as far as I'm concerned. That's just my comment. If my numbers are wrong,
Mr. Bowen. I
if
think
my
it's time we
numbers
need
are
to
wrong,
move
let me
on.
know. Pardon
Very
me?
well, yeah. Very well. I'm afraid we got to move on. You're welcome to put your hand up later in the meeting to come back, circle back to you. But I'll
Didn't
notice,
sound like they had a lot
Mr.
of questions.
Well, you'd be surprised if you look at the meeting chat and the participants. I know Mr. Mulvihill has been waiting patiently, and I know Christie's also working to get him joining the party. Mr. Mulvihill, you are ready to go if as long as you first unmute. There you go, sir.
All right. We are Golden State Water Company's. We're billed through Golden State Water Company. Does this impact us?
It does not. Only your sewer fee would go up.
Okay. And then second quick question, which zone are we on or in? How can we tell that?
It would be on your bill that you receive from us for your trash and sewer.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Also, I'll get back to some active conversation going on in the chat. Looks like Danita says, Christy, if you remember, I asked if any of the revenues would be allocated towards the unfunded liability of the retirement of the public works employees. And I was told no. However, Mr. Mulvihill, if you please mute. Thank you, sir. I was told no. However, in the study that is on the city website available for the residents on page 18 and 19, it shows pensions and as an expense. It's on table 2.7.
Danita, I will have to follow up with finance and see what exactly that covers. I don't want to speak out of term on that one. So I'll get back to you.
Very good. Says thank you. Cynthia asks, was there ever an audit completed to go back in history or an overall historical budget we could review?
Saying that I've been here the longest out of the three of us. Since I've been here, I'm not aware of one, but I would have to get back to you on that as well. I'll have to double check. I know we're audited annually, so I'm not sure what type of audit you're asking for.
Yeah, just to weigh in on the audit, I believe the city's website does publish the annual citywide comprehensive audit, which does include our enterprise functions. And as far as historical budgets, that information also published on the city's website.
And I'll note those of you who are monitoring the chat, Jeremy has helpfully put a link to that in the chat. At this point, we've run out of questions and comments in the chat and also by the methodology of raising your hand. Oh, Mr. Mulvihill's back.
Hi, I'm sorry. This is Mrs. Mulvihill.
Hello, Mrs. Mulvihill.
Hello. So back to the answer that you gave us before. If we are a resident of Laverne, but we pay our water through Golden State and we're billed through the city of Laverne for our sewer and trash, how can a resident of Laverne be split like that? How come we're not all under one? Is there a boundary? And that's why you're showing us the boundaries before?
There is a boundary. There is also the water lines themselves. So we don't own the water lines to your property. Those are owned by Golden State.
Oh, so the city of Laverne,
Mm-hmm.
and in of itself, has some residents that pay that and some are with the city.
Correct. We have probably, I want to say maybe close to 1,000 residents that are actually within the city of Laverne boundary, but do pay Golden State water.
Okay, so if someone were to move in, let's say pretend like there's a house for sale on my street, right?
Mhm.
So if I wanted to know now what I know now, would I be able to find out before I purchased the home whether I had to pay Golden State or the city of Laverne?
You could always call and see who the water provider is going to be, depending on where
Perfect.
you're at within the
Mhm.
boundary line. It could actually be just a matter of you living on one side of the street and the
Oh,
off the
understood.
street. Yeah,
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
you're welcome.
You could also send us your address and we could be happy to answer that question for you.
Thank you.
I think we'll welcome Mr. Bowen back to the conversation. And if you unmute, you're ready to go, sir.
Just one quick question, and maybe this to Christy. There's you have a contract at, I believe, $139,000. Christy, how much of that what is the total for Retellus at this point?
Give me 1 minute and I will get back to you.
Okay.
While we're waiting on that number, I'll again encourage folks in the meeting to drop a comment or a question into the chat, or raise your hand if you'd like to make your comment or question verbally.
We are at 124.
124 so far. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? We appreciate everybody participating this afternoon. There's been really good questions and discussion. I think if there's no objections from city staff, we'll have this be last call for questions or comments. Seeing none, I think we can let everybody get back to their evenings with their families. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you next time.